so disturbing and stands out.
Coming up on Wake Up NonStop Local, crimes against kids. 15 sexual abuse survivors file a lawsuit. Accusations against guards at the Spokane County Juvenile Detention Center dating back to the 1980s. The lawsuit ahead.
Plus, we'll get a first look at your weather forecast. We are still seeing some mountain snow impacting the morning travel plans that you might have over mountain passes, but out on the local morning commute, we'll get you out the door.
Also this morning, following those power problems, thousands still without power this morning after windstorms swept Washington. When that power could be restored, coming up.
And not in session. House reps opt to go home for the week as today marks day 27 of the government shutdown. The reason behind their departure, coming up.
All that plus on the court and in the courtroom. The case to get a top recruit in uniform and on the basketball court for Gonzaga.
And not in session. As we mentioned, we'll have more on that coming up on Wake Up NonStop Local.
Wake up, you gotta rise to the sun. And here it comes, it's time to make the best of what you got to give. It's all about rising, and I wanna be there.
All right, you're looking at pictures of Media Day from Gonzaga. Today marking 1 week from the start of the regular season start for Gonzaga basketball, where the team's predicted to win their final year in the WCC. And tonight is the final exhibition game against Western Oregon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Cle Elum.
I'm Sam Adams. The team is getting ready to hit the hardwood and hit the court for one final exhibition game tonight. But one of the top storylines right now is happening in court. The status of Tyon Grant Foster still up in the air. His eligibility case still tied up in courtrooms. There's a preliminary injunction hearing. That's today, 2:30 p.m. in Spokane County Superior Court, less than 4 hours before tonight's exhibition tip-off. Gonzaga is arguing he should be eligible to play this year in Spokane after suffering heart attacks that cost him 2 entire seasons before transferring to Gonzaga from GCU. Now, in the meantime, Gonzaga will play on without Tyon. It's their final exhibition tune-up of the preseason.
And that's going to air tonight on NonStop Local KHQ. That means our newscast will air online on our digital platforms, and will air the new episode of Jeopardy at noon. Wheel of Fortune will not be shown. Now we'll have more on college basketball coming up later in the show.
All right, busy day. We'll get to your top news headlines in a moment, but first, the headliner this morning is the weather.
All right, Jenny Power, what do you got?
Yeah, guys, I mean, as we are waking up here on a Monday, we saw just in general some pretty wild weekend weather, but now we are seeing some more mild conditions, at least through the parts of the downtown core as we take this live look over downtown Spokane. Our start time temperatures are ranging right now in the mid to upper 30s, and we are still seeing some lingering rain showers over into Coeur d'Alene and parts of North Idaho this morning. But up in the mountains here, that is where we're seeing a lot of still continued activity. So mountain snow through parts of North Idaho as well as the Cascades. It's something to be prepared for, especially if you have travel plans that will take you up and over any mountain passes. We are looking at 3 to 5 inches for Lookout Pass with winter weather advisories still in place here until 11 a.m. As far as what we're seeing overall in general for the power planner, though, we are going to see some really nice afternoon sunshine. Daytime highs just reaching the upper 40s, but when we could see the return of some wet weather through our valley floors, we'll talk about that in 10 minutes. Sam, Cle.
Okay, Jenny, thanks. Well, westbound I-90 near Cle Elum is back open after it was shut down when a truck hit the top of an overpass last week. Crews had to take down part of that overpass, and bridge engineers are now working to design a new one.
In the meantime, there will be delays for people heading east towards Suncadia and Roslyn. They should take exit 85 to State Route 903 for the time being. WashDOT says they'll be releasing more information about next steps in that rebuilding process later today. And on the heels of power outages for thousands of people in the inland Northwest Saturday and Sunday, parts of western Washington still without power as of this morning.
And strong winds are to blame. You can see a scattering of active outages on this map from Puget Sound Energy. They provide power to thousands in the Puget Sound area. An estimated 34,000 customers were without power last night. That number has since gone down. And
the wind also toppling trees and power lines, some of those trees even falling on top of cars. There were some 150,000 affected customers at its peak yesterday in western Washington. A new report from the University of Washington Center for Human Rights raising concerns about privacy in the state.
The report reveals from May through August of this year that the U.S. Border Patrol accessed license plate reader networks without authorization. The report says at least 8 law enforcement agencies in the state shared their automated license plate reader networks with Border Patrol. Audits found they used backdoor access to 10 police department networks without permission.
Now, Washington doesn't have any existing laws on the books guiding how data collected by reader cameras can be used.
U.S. Border Patrol could search those networks using, whatever justification they want for, license plates, partial license plates, descriptions of cars.
The report also mentioning side door access. That refers to searches conducted by local police at the request of federal agencies.
And Flock, one of the companies that collects that information, pushed back on the report, saying it contains mischaracterizations and factual errors, and adds that researchers didn't reach out to Flock directly. In a statement, Flock says their customers own and control access to their data. Company adds in recent months, they've removed federal agencies from their lookup features. A group of 15 Washington residents are accusing the Spokane County Juvenile Detention Center of sexual abuse when they were teenagers. The accusations date back to 1983.
They're claiming that they were groomed and sexually abused by guards at the facility on several occasions. The suit naming 2 guards in particular. According to our partners at the Spokesman Review, both of those guards have since passed away. The abuse allegedly happening in cells, closets, and a guard booth.
The people in the suit say they were between 12 and 17 years old. Their attorney says the abuse was a product of negligence and failure by the county to protect the children.
So disturbing and stands out even against a backdrop of sexual abuse cases and abuse cases that my law firm deals with and that in my career I've dealt with. The first is obvious, which is that we're dealing with kids.
The attorney representing the group believes there are more victims and potentially even more abusers.
Spokane police are expected to continue their investigation this morning into this shooting that happened early Saturday at Audubon Park.
SPD says officers responded to the area about 2:40 a.m. and found shell casings. They still haven't confirmed a suspect or if there are any victims. Idaho State Police are investigating a deadly train collision that killed a woman near Priest River. It happened about 9 p.m. Saturday night at the Parr Road crossing by Hidden Lane.
Troopers say a northbound freight train hit that car and the driver died at the scene. Rail traffic had to be shut down for 4 hours during the investigation. Bonner County Sheriff's Office and Priest River Police both responded. They have not yet released the identity of the driver. Spokane City Council set to introduce a new ordinance at tonight's Public Safety and Community Health Committee meeting. According to the city, it's now designed to give police more power to enforce an existing ban of camping in public areas.
The Safe and Accessible Spaces Ordinance would allow Spokane Police the ability to offer services and cite violators. It targets camping and obstruction on public property and says the goal is to provide services while enforcing the law. Here's a live look at the U.S. Capitol building now, where today and the rest of the week, the House will be out of session. Lawmakers are going to their home districts for a district work period.
Now, last week, a bill that would have funded the government through November 21st failed for a 12th time. Today, marking day 27 since the government shutdown. If it were to continue until Wednesday next week, it would officially become the longest federal shutdown in the history of the United States. President Trump continued his trip to Asian countries after touching down in Tokyo overnight. Upon his arrival, he was greeted by several high-ranking Japanese military officials.
He's expected to meet with the Prime Minister tomorrow, highlighting Japan's commitment to invest $550 billion in the United States. The president says he's open to extending his trip to meet with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, though there are no scheduled dates. His trip ends in South Korea, where he and other leaders are expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And now to the Middle East. Citizens in Israel continue to call on Hamas to return the bodies of the deceased hostages as part of the ceasefire agreement. Hamas has expanded its search for the bodies of hostages that the group has held captive in Gaza. Egypt is now assisting, deploying a team of experts and heavy equipment to help.
So far, Hamas has returned the remains of 18 hostages there under that ceasefire deal that was brokered by the United States. The militant group was expected to return the remains of all Israeli hostages as soon as possible. French police have now arrested 2 suspects in connection to that heist of the Louvre in Paris. And according to Paris prosecutors, now one of those men was detained at Charles de Gaulle Airport as he was preparing to board a flight to Algeria over the weekend. The other was arrested in Paris shortly after.
Police have not publicly identified the other 2 suspects. The investigation comes after a heist where 4 people made off with priceless jewels worth more than $100 million last week. Still to come here on Wake Up NonStop Local, poltergeist on a pontoon haunting the waters of Lake Coeur d'Alene.
All right, you're taking a live look right now from on the boat. We've got a live report coming up.
Plus, we'll get an extended look at your weather forecast here. A more mild start to the Monday, with the exception of what's going on in the mountains as the snow continues there. The full details of what you need to be prepared for ahead.